Hello, you are welcome back to Unit 5 of this course. And under the previous unit, we studied about the muscle tissue, and we got to understand that one of the properties of the muscle tissue is conductivity, and it is the ability to conduct an action potential. So, for tissues or cells that are able to conduct an action potential are said to be excitable tissues, and these cells include those of the nervous system as well, in that they are able to respond to stimulation by producing an action potential, which acts as a means of communication together with the muscle cells in order to generate or respond to action potentials by contracting to perform a physical work. So the nervous system in this way helps to regulate and control the body's function. Under this unit, we'll look at the nervous tissue in detail. Let's begin with Unit 5, Session 1, which looks at the structure of a nerve cell. Hope you enjoy this session as well. By the end of this session, you should be able to describe the structure of a neuron, also draw and label a neuron, then list the functions of the parts of the neuron, and also explain myelination and its importance. The nervous tissue is made up of cells, and these nerve cells are known as neurons, and they are said to be the unit structure and function of the nervous tissue. And there are other cells in the nervous tissue known as the neuroglia, and they also function to support and protect neurons. And this neuroglia, we'll look at it later in detail. The neuron has three main parts, and they are the cell body, the dendrites, and the axon. In this figure is the structure of a neuron, indicating the three major parts. That's the cell body, in which the organelles or the cellular organelles are found, and the dendrites, which are appendages on the cell body, as well as the axon. The cell body of a nerve cell produces all the proteins for the dendrites, axons, and the synaptic terminals, and they also contains organelles which includes mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, secretory granules, and ribosomes. And this helps to provide energy and synthesize various products that is required for cellular function. The cytoplasm is also contains the nasal bodies, which are made up of rough endoplasmic reticulum or group of ribosomes, and they help in synthesizing proteins that are used for growth and regeneration. Also are neurofibrils that are used for the support and transport within the cell. The dendrites, which is also another part of the nerve cell, are cytoplasmic processes or appendages that conduct an impulse towards the cell body. And a neuron or a nerve cell normally have several dendrites, and these structures branch out in tree-like fashion. And the main function of dendrites is that they serve as the main apparatus for receiving signals from other nerve cells. The axon, which is the third and final part of the nerve cell, is a single long thin process that conducts impulses away from the cell body towards another neuron or an effector. An effector could be a muscle or a gland. As shown in the previous slide on the structure of a neuron or a nerve cell, the axons have side branches called axonal collaterals. Also, there is axon hillock where the axon is joined to the cell, and it is at this point That's where electrical firing or action potential normally occurs. The axon and its collaterals end by branching into many fine filaments called telodendria, and these telodendria are at the distal ends and expand into bulb-like structures called axon terminals or synaptic knobs. And these knobs are important in nerve impulse conduction because they contain membrane-bound sacs called synaptic vesicles, and these vesicles store neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters are chemical substances that are necessary for transferring impulses between neurons or between a neuron and an effector. The axon of a nerve cell is surrounded by a multi-layered white phospholipid covering called the myelin sheath, and this sheath is made up of membranes of interstitial cells and is wrapped around the axons to form several concentric layers, as shown in Figure 34. The myelin sheath protects or insulates the axon and also increases the speed of nerve impulse conduction. The sheath also prevents interference between axons as they pass along in bundles. The myelinated sheaths, which wraps the axon in peripheral nerves, are provided by Schwann cells. And these cells were named after Theodore Schwann, who was a biologist and was the first person to describe these cells. However, the cells that wrap around axons within the central nervous system are rather called oligodendrocytes. For a nerve cell, the axon, together with its surrounding sheath, is called a nerve fiber. And we should note that the term fiber is different as applied to the nervous and the muscle tissue. In the nervous or the nerve cell, the axon together with the surrounding sheath is rather referred to as a nerve fiber. And also the outer layer of the multiple wrappings is referred to as neurolemma, and it is found only around fibers in the peripheral nervous system. The myelin sheath is important in regeneration of injured axons, and between each pair of successive Schwann cells is a gap called the node of Ranvier. And the myelin sheath, which is broken at various points by these nodes of Ranvier, when observed in the cross-sectional way, looks like a string of sausages, as shown in the figure. Now have a look at these questions. What is a neuron? What are the main parts of a neuron? Which part of a neuron contains the organelles? What is a myelin sheath? Hope you were able to answer these questions. Under Section 1 of Unit 5, we've studied the structure of the neuron, and we also studied that the neuron can be thought of as the building block of the nervous system, and it is also the fundamental unit structure and function of nerves. And we also studied the basic parts of a neuron and the presence of myelin sheath around some neurons to enhance their activity.